So, Kevin, I was at I just got back at 4 a.m. yesterday. I drove down to Delray, and Agora and Rich Sheffrin are doing a new coalition to save internet businesses, and and it was the coolest thing ever. I got to be in this room. They invited 40 people down. Brunson, Patel, Levesque, Todd Brown, all the marketers that I looked up to, and I was sitting down and talking to these guys. I was talking to Todd for like an hour, and one of the things I asked him was like, how do you stay motivated, right? I'm 30, right? So I still have a long way to go in terms of where I want to be. I looked around, and then I was talking to Kevin again tomorrow, and like they've done it all, right? You've had such a successful career, and obviously you always want to do more and more and more. But like at where you're at and all the things you've done, how do you stay motivated? Like what's going through your head on a daily basis to keep you going? You're in the studio, you're shooting videos, you got lunch meetings. Like what's going on there?
Yeah, so great question. I mean, I think I actually tried to retire at one time, so I've been through that experience. I had sold a company a few years back, and I had a 6-month non-compete. So I was like, this would be a good time for me to really see what retirement is all about. I had taken a bunch of chips off the table, and here I was sitting there thinking this will be great. I can play golf every day, do whatever I want. And by literally about the third week, I didn't get to the third month. By the third week, I was driving myself crazy because I'm getting phone calls still from people. And I mean, look, I think the reality is this. I've been close to 40 years in the business of finding products and taking them to successful distribution around the world. We created the infomercial. We pioneered, putting people on home shopping channels, QVC, HSN, the global home shopping business. Then I met you a number of years back, and we started doing some digital things and continue to explore lots of arenas there in the world of digital. But what's never stopped is the phone calls coming from people that are reaching out to me. Some people that I did their product 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 5 years ago. So how do you can't just put an end to the world coming to you. So here I was trying to retire, and the world was saying, no, you can't, because I need your help, right? I don't, and so it even got to the point where people would come to me, okay, I need you to invest $1 million. And I'm like, look, I'm retired. I'm not going to invest money in your company. Oh, guess what? I'll give you equity. I'll give you a fee. I'll pay you a consulting fee. I just need you on my team. Okay. Yep. So, I mean, hey, that's, how do you turn things like that down? Especially think of it this way, if they've got something that has tremendous potential and an opportunity, it's like, hey, look, okay, let me put a few minutes into it and see what happens here. So this is kind of what's going on in my day-to-day life. It's like, hey, can you come speak at this place? Well, I really can't, I'm busy, but, oh, well, we really need you, or this or that. And so, at the end of the day, I'm just not ready to stop. I mean, I look at a guy like Mark Cuban. He's got to be worth close to $5 billion, because the asset that he created with the Mavericks is gone huge in growth. So, but he's shooting Shark Tank. He's speaking. He's out flying around the world investing in deals. Right? I mean, at some point, there will be a slowdown probably. But I'll just to finish the answer to your question. I got on Shark Tank, had a couple years there, had some good fun. And now, as people go back on Shark Tank today, and they've got a product, they see, well, O'Leary's not a product guy. Herjovich's not a product guy. Damon's not a product guy. Barber's not a product guy. Hey, where's that Kevin guy? So they get 50,000 people a year coming to the show. And I'm getting the overflow of stuff from people that either didn't get on the show, or some people actually that did get on the show. So I'm dealing with tons of the Shark Tank folks across the board. And the last sentence here, the Shark Tank is now a global brand. Yep. Last week I was in Mexico City with Mexican sharks, and there's South African sharks, Israeli sharks, Australian sharks. So I went to Sao Paulo, Brazil, with a Brazilian shark at the World Trade Center. What do? We took pitches from Brazilian entrepreneurs. So, I mean, the reality is Shark Tank has become a global brand, and it's helped brand myself in the process, even though I'm still not on the new segments. The old segments just keep rerunning and keep me branded in the process. So someday I'll retire, but it may be when I'm 6 feet under. Who knows?
Well, I feel like that's the challenge, right? Is when you start saying no, people want you more, right? And so probably put you in that position where you're like, hey, I really don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And people say, well, I really want to work with you. Here's more money. Here's more money. I'll give you more equity. And at some point, it's hard, and you just say, well, I'll do it. It's too good of a deal to pass up.
I mean, I had a deal that we really weren't interested in, and we finally said yes, and it's now become $100 million success out in the world of digital and television, et cetera. And it's like, you know, we just opened our Rolodex and turned the faucet on to help this entrepreneur achieve success, and here we are, 3 years later, and $100 million in sales that, had I not taken this opportunity, would never have happened. So it's cool to be able to kind of pick and choose. I think the bottom line is I'm a lot more selective on what I want to get involved with, because I just don't have, I don't have to do it. I don't really have the time to take on tons of new things. So I pick and choose really excellent partners to focus on.
That's huge. That's one of the things that when we first met, like we already knew about you, but getting to work with you for years, getting to build a relationship, the network that you have, the relationship capital that you have is incredible. And I'm curious if you think, like, as an entrepreneur, somebody starting a business, getting into this world, if building that network is really the most valuable asset that somebody can develop, because somebody could build a business and it vanishes. There's a recession tomorrow, right? Great recession, you're done. But with you, it's like you could lose everything, and you could pick up the phone tomorrow, and you have 100 people you can call, right? Somebody can call you, hey, I need to get into this. I need to get into this. I need somebody that can do this, and you have this Rolodex. So I'm curious if somebody's watching this and thinking about, what's like the most important thing for me to be doing, right? If I'm talking about building an asset, working to develop something, do you think that network, I know it's a cliched statement, right? Your network is your net worth and all that stuff. But for you, I mean, that's pretty visible, that it is a
Yeah,
real tangible asset.
I think in my case, over the years, so I started 40 years ago almost in this product business, right? Finding products. So what do you need if you're in the product business? You need manufacturing, right? We've manufactured over 500 different products in every category. So we've got that down. If we've got a fitness product, if we've got a kitchen electric product, we know where to go, right? So we can make vacuum cleaners, we can make juicers, we can make grills, we can make, gazelles with Tony Little, you name it. We have the ability, from whether it's hardware, fitness, golf, fishing, you name it, we've got the connections. Now you've made the product. Now you got to produce amazing content to sell it. And in the old days, that was infomercials. Today, it's videos and digital. I'm sitting right here in my studio today. I've got a 5,000 square foot studio full of amazing people with great ability to produce content, selling content, right? Yep. So we've got the manufacturing. We've now got the production. Now we need the distribution. And so we've got 40 plus reps that go to Walmart and Target and CVS and Walgreens, just domestic distribution. But we've got these same folks on an international level to go international. So we've got the manufacturing, we've got the content side, we've got the distribution side, and as you know, there's also a digital marketing play in the middle here. We use we have a couple internal people, but we use outside people too. So, it's in the old days, we employed everybody. We had our own production team. We had our own customer service center. We had our own media company. We had our own fulfillment center, but I had 500 employees. Now we do all of it, and, very successfully across the board with literally a handful of people. Somewhere in the neighborhood of like 10 to 12 people can manage everything that we do on a global basis, because we contract out to the biggest and the best people that do fulfillment, customer service, it's phone calls, ordering, distribution, et cetera. So, I mean, I think it's important, as you as an entrepreneur are building your business, grab every single card that you can when you're meeting people, because the last leg of the things that I was mentioning, from manufacturing to production to distribution, is raising capital. I mean, I'm just closing today $1 million investment deal with a friend that's going. We're putting up $1 million into a company, and this is part of a network that I've got. So we have individual investors, hedge fund investors, Wall Street investors, you name it. We've got access and to lots of capital. I mean, I could talk about the hundreds of millions of dollars that we've raised over the last couple of years, in 3 to 4 years, for the different clients that we have. It's no secret, some of the I'm involved with some public companies and helping raise capital inside some of these public companies even. So it's important to have that golden Rolodex, as I call it. I call it assembling a dream team. And not just an internal team, but external dream team of people that you can help entrepreneurs by turning them on to my network. That's kind of what I do. I open the Rolodex, help them get into whatever phase of that they need. We have access to help them at any point along the way.
And that's massive value. I mean, capital's great, but that relationship capital is equally as valuable, especially early on when you're getting started. So you hit on this before when you're talking about Shark Tank. I thought about it, and then talking about what you're talking about now regarding you used to have 500 employees to run a company of some, the kind of size you're running now. You can do it with 10, 12 people. So one of the questions I keep getting from people, or just, let's talk about this, is today the best time to be an entrepreneur in history, or is it the worst time? And what I'm getting at there is, I do think it's never been easier to start a company, right? So somebody could be working 9 to 5 today and say, you know what, I want to start selling t-shirts tomorrow, or I want to sell whatever this widget is, and they can go to AliExpress and they can find a product and they can start a Shopify store and they can run some Facebook ads, and that night they can have a business. It's not going to be great. They should probably source the product and do the right thing, but just they can open the doors. Whereas even 10, 15 years ago, you want to start selling clothes, you need to go find real estate, you need to get a loan, you need to build out the property or remodel it, you need to hire people, you need to buy inventory, you need to put signs up to get people to come into the store, you need to have the customer interaction. So I'm curious of that lowering of barriers to entry, if just the flood of people coming in also makes it harder. Like, where do you fall on that, on the scale of the best time, worst time?
I would say it's a great question. I think, number one, I go back to the early 80s when I started my business. I tried to find places to do a lot of the services that I needed on a global basis. And this is why we ended up bringing it all in-house, because in the early 80s, you didn't have the sophistication that you have today with credit card processing, phone calls, or customer service, ordering, fulfillment around the world. So just for example, when we opened in an office in London in 1989, we would ship across the 16 countries of Europe, but we had to clear customs for every single country. And if customs held it back, the product got returned, and then we had to issue credits, and it was a logistical nightmare back in the early days. We were dealing with all the foreign currencies. We had one full-time guy that hedged foreign currencies, because we were dealing in Japan with so many yen, and we didn't want to wipe out all of our profits by having a swing in a currency exchange market. So I mean, it was a totally different world. To go global in the old days took massive amounts of capital, because you had to buy massive amounts of inventory to put it into these local countries so that you could ship inside Germany. Now you can ship direct from China to the end customer in many cases, right? So the barriers, the sophistication for all the service side has allowed entrepreneurs like myself to utilize their services without having to bring it in-house and employ them. So it is much easier today to launch a business, and as you mentioned, hey, test this thing, go global overnight. Nobody was thought like that in the old days. In fact, When I opened in London in 1989, people were looking at me like, you are crazy, Kevin Harrington. What the heck are you doing? You've got this huge, successful company in the United States, cranking, doing well. Why do you? What's in this head of yours to want to go to England, to go to Germany, to go to the Middle East? I went to Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, opened up a fulfillment center, a phone center. We had 75 employees there. It didn't exist there, what we did, so we built it. We built it in Latin America, we built it in Asia, we built it in Europe, and we built it in the Middle East. And we formed partnerships. So today, you don't need to do all of that. And by the way, sometimes partnerships mean somebody else maybe not doing the best job on the other side, and also maybe eating up a lot of the profits. So, we found, for example, in the Middle East, things went okay, but we found that the partners didn't want to work as hard as we did. Okay. And so we found a lot of people on the payroll that were relatives to the sheikh, and they were just getting paid, but they weren't doing anything. So this is coming out of our profits. So today we don't have to worry about having partners all over the place like that, because we can do it ourselves, direct to the consumer. And in this business model that we're in, you and I, Max, what you do, what I do, direct to the consumer, is powerful and allows entrepreneurs to be able to start with an idea, product, test it, and be in business in a very quick fashion. So I think the time is great for entrepreneurs. At the same time, you can get knocked off faster than ever before. So I'm not just saying just go out and do it. You got to do it the right way. Keep things under the radar until you're ready to expose them to the marketplace. So, I just, across the board, I think it's a great time to be an entrepreneur.
I totally agree. I think the one thing that I've seen, though, is that lowering of the barrier and making it easier to start a business. People, and this is just advice for anybody that's listening, that's thinking about starting a business. Just because it's easier to start a business doesn't mean you should put less time and effort into starting a business. I think that's like one of the biggest mistakes I see is, hey, I can start selling this from China today, but you don't have a brand. The product sucks. It's low quality, right? You don't see Nike, Apple, and Coke building $1 trillion companies off of first time buyers, one time buyers, right? Coke is Coke and Apple's Apple because people love the product. They buy it again and again and again. And you look at the success stories the last few years, the Caspers and the Purples and the Bonobos and the Warby Parker, like they have great brands. They have great products. They actually took the time and effort to source quality products, to have a real brand, a real mission, a real vision that they believe in. There's a why, right? As Simon Sinek would say, it's not the what, it's the why of what you do. And I think a lot of people don't focus on that.
Give you a good example. So a guy comes in my office a couple months ago. He's got a product. He loves it. It's a cool product. Yep. And so we go out, we're looking on Amazon, and he's got 20 people selling the product at all different price points. And so it's like, hey, dude, if you want me to come out and put money into building this brand, creating videos, content, funnels, etc., and the minute we put it out there, all your distributors that are selling this thing are just going to keep bringing the price down because we're going to be spending the money at retail and they're going to be selling it at 20% off, 30% off, et cetera. You're not going to get on QVC. You're not going to get on HSN if this is the case. So we had to clean this all up. So that, yes, while it's easy to get out there, and this guy's like, oh, hey, I'm getting orders. I'm shipping here, shipping there. He thinks he's making money. He's destroying his business when he's shipping to people and allowing them to sell it to compete against him on Amazon. Okay, so while it is easier, don't do it stupid. You got to, this gets back to one of my core philosophies. If this is your first rodeo and the first time around with the product, maybe partner with somebody that's been there before. Someone like you, Max, someone like me. Hey, we've made some mistakes, but we aren't going to let 20 people sell product for cheaper than us than when we own the brand on Amazon. So what we did, cleaned up all these bootleg kind of guys that were out there, and he didn't have any idea how some of these people were getting the product, but eventually we figured it out. We also had people knocking us off using the brand that he had created. So we had to enforce legal action on many people. So if you want to be successful, it's not just run and gun. You've got to plan it, build it, and have the right elements, the right team members, and probably the right capital behind you in the process. But just don't slipshod off and be shotgunning all these sales all over the place, because you can actually destroy your business.
Yeah, very quickly, and you can't rebuild that. You build trust. That's a really important asset, and it's hard to build. It's really easy to destroy. You can destroy your brand reputation overnight, and some big companies have done it pretty quickly too. Like you have billion-dollar
Yeah.
companies that have done something terrible, just destroyed their brand in a short period of time. So it's fleeting, and like the stuff you just talked about, a lot of it's been stuff you can control, right? There's a lot of stuff that you as a business owner can control. There are
Yep.
some things though that are completely out of your control. And yeah, I kind of just started 2007, 2008, my very first company. So I haven't lived through, I mean, I kind of lived through the tail end of it, but I haven't lived through a massive cycle, a massive bust, right? We've been in this boom the last decade. It just, everything keeps going up. We have historically low inflation rates are like everything's unprecedented. We don't like it. Just what's happening is unprecedented completely. I'm curious what advice you give to founders you're invested in, boards you're on, people that you mentor and coach to prepare. And obviously, there's only so much you can do. If there's a huge depression, it doesn't matter really what you do. Everyone's kind of screwed. But I think it's inevitable that at some point in the next year, 2 years, pretty much everyone agrees that there's going to be a recession, a pullback. How are your companies preparing for that? Or is there anything you can do to position yourself so you don't get kind of lose your shirt?
Well, it's a very good question. I mean, most entrepreneurs don't wake up thinking today's the day we're going to have that recession,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I mean, you sort of, I mean, the best thing. I mean, one of the pubcos that I'm involved with, recently as a board, we sat down and we said, hey, look, we're in good shape here. Company's profitable, doing well. You know what? Let's go raise some money, and now is the time. Okay, if you wait until you're dead broke, your sales have plummeted, and now you go try to raise money, you're
Good
not going to
luck.
raise it. Okay. So, the best time to raise it is when you're having some success. So, money is good. I mean, look, if you've got all the money in the world, then you don't have to worry about the recession. But if you're a businessman that operates like most entrepreneurs, kind of like month to month, quarter to quarter kind of thing, and many public companies that do this, maybe plan ahead a little bit and go out, put some capital together for a rainy day, because at the end of the day, even in recession times, there are people that become more successful,
Mm-hmm.
and there's industries that are so-called recession proof, right? So I always say that smart marketers are able to shift along the way depending on what's happening in the marketplace. So I believe that the one thing that can hurt you if you're a smart marketer and you don't have any money and a recession hits, you might have some tough times, because sometimes you got to weather the storm a little bit as you're going through some of these changes. I mean, you've seen it, Max. Algorithms change at Facebook or this or that, and all of a sudden, what worked last week that was giving you a 3-to-1 response is now a 1-to-1. Okay, so hey, we were rolling out media, and all of a sudden, boom, it's sort of like the rug got pulled out from under you. So I think everybody out there understands whether it's a recession or an environmental change in the business or algorithms or whatever, just be as prepared as possible. Again, I go back to making sure you surround yourself with some cool people, and making sure that you've got the capital to weather some storms in the process. So now might be a good time for anybody out there that's thinking about this. Hey, if there's some assets you could sell, just bank a little bit of capital to prepare for a rainy day, because as you said, you just never know when things are going to change in the marketplace.
Yeah, and like you said, it's nobody wants to invest when you need money. When you're desperate, people can smell it a mile away, and that's true with anything. I mean, that's true. You're trying to close a deal, you need a client, and you're going in there, and that client knows that you need them. It's you look back at like Mad Men, the TV show. It was like 60% of their business was Lucky Strike cigarettes. The guy fires him after a decade, and the business almost goes under, right? So huge
Right.
risk. I want to ask you something, and you don't have to answer like personal examples, but I am curious. I don't think we ever talked about this. You're talking about raising money. what were some of the worst, or just one example, like the worst pitch, the worst thing that somebody did on Shark Tank in terms of trying to get you to get excited and invest in them? What was like the best thing? And you don't have to give a specific example, but maybe just like for somebody
Yeah, I
watching,
mean,
what's the worst thing they could do? What's the best thing they could do trying to get a shark to invest in their
well,
business?
I mean, so I always think about this one guy. He came out. First of all, the worst thing you can do is 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 not have an irresistible offer.
Yep.
So I have a formula I use in pitching. I'll consolidate it because I have a 10-step formula and I have a 3-step formula. The 3 steps is tease, please, and seize. You tease with an attention-getting problem. You please by solving the problem with magical transformations and testimonials, and you seize with an irresistible offer. An irresistible offer means this has got to be a better deal that, like you're a startup. Why should I invest in you? You have no sales, right? Well, one day a guy comes out, he wants $1 million for 10% of his company. I'm like, there's nothing, this is a complete startup. He only, I'm like, dude, there's nothing irresistible about that, right? I mean, so, I say that you got to create a way for an investor, an entrepreneur that's coming in to see light at the end of the tunnel or see how they're going to get their money back. And I think ultimately this is one of the things that I say, because I'm on both sides of the table. I invest. I also, when I get involved with companies, I help them raise money. So we talk to investors. When I talk to an investor, I want to create a formula for them that maybe accelerates their payback. If they're taking a big risk, this is need some capital. Okay, we're going to approach, right? Kevin O'Leary loves. I'm going to invest $100,000 in your donut shop. I want 50 cents for every donut you sell until I get my $100,000 back, and then I want to keep 10% equity. So that is more irresistible if you presented that. Mr. Wonderful, I know you like royalties. I'm going to give you a percentage of sales until you get your money back, and then you get free equity for the rest of your life. So I think the bottom line is that people that are pitching for money, oftentimes they're all about themselves. What, me, what I need. No. It's how do you get the investor to actually write the check? You got to be thinking them, the investor, okay? And if you're not putting something together for them that makes sense, that fits into their sweet spot, you're not going to have luck. So the guy that had the 10% for $1 million, he was surgically implanting a Bluetooth device inside your ear. All right. So thank God that never happened. That was a business that didn't take off. No funding because the pitch was no good. Now, on the other hand, a good pitch that landed for me was a woman that came out. She had a product for cats, and she said, if you have a cat, you're spending thousands of dollars in a lifetime on litter. What if I could tell you, you could throw the litter away? Okay, so she's now teasing. There's a problem, and litter is dirty and it's unhealthy and it's this and it's that, and so now she's going to solve the problem with a product that sits on your toilet, teaches the cat to jump on the toilet. It's called City Kitty. It's a cat toilet training product. Okay, throw your litter box away, put this little tray on top of your toilet, and each week a ring comes out. Week 1, it's like this. Week 2, week 3, by week 4, there's no rings, and the cat is still jumping up on top of the toilet. And so when she told me about this, what really hooked me, and this was part of her pitch, was that this product was used in the movie Meet the Fockers for when Robert De Niro and the cat was jumping on the toilet, if you ever remember that, right? Yep. Well, she said, this thing's going to go viral. We're going to go to Today Show, Good Morning America. And that's why I invested in that deal, was because I realized the product made sense. It was a $20 or $30 item, so money back guarantee for sure. But I was going to use the virality of being able to go on The View, Good Morning America, The Today Show, Wendy Williams, etc., which is what I did with her. Took her to trade shows. Walgreens comes along, got end caps in Walgreens, and boom, we built a business north of $10 million in sales, north of $1 million in profit on a product that it's a cat toilet training product. So it was a great pitch, solved the problem, it worked, and was very successful in the process. So you got good and bad in any case, but yeah, Shark Tank, most of the pitches are so-so. Okay,
Yeah.
it's the few that hit home that get funded and become successful.
So continuing that thread of investing, I think one of the things, because my first company, we raised venture capital funding, and so I've kind of seen that world, and looking at entrepreneurs who are raising capital, I think one of the things they focus on is the money they're going to get and the valuation. Right, that's their focus, is how much you're going to give
Yeah,
me and how much are you value my company. There are a lot of other things that they should be looking at, right? So you look at a term sheet. Most people look at page one. They don't look at page 2 through 20. So I'm
right.
curious if there's certain things that you think these entrepreneurs should be caring more about regarding liquidation preferences, pro rata rights. There's all these things that, like, you could get a
Yes.
sweetheart deal on the front end, but they might take a 3x liquidation preference. That investor is quadruple dipping when you sell the company. And so I'm just, were you seeing these type of deals being made where it's, hey, I'm going to give you a great deal on the front, but I'm kind of putting all these things underneath to make it, less risky for me, give me more
Yeah.
upside.
A great question because I mean, look, it they the Shark Tank show has the word shark in it for a reason.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
some of these investors are true sharks. Okay, I mean, it's no secret. Kevin O'Leary. I mean, I like to drive a hard bargain for myself as an investor. I mean, everyone wants the best they can get, but O'Leary is a good example of a shark that wants just it's his way or the highway. And so, I mean, I've seen people give away they've signed away their rights in an agreement where the other party, if certain sales goals weren't met or certain ratios weren't met, they actually could lose the entire company. All the assets could be taken over by the investor. So you may get some upfront cash that goes into building the business. So the investor now is building a business that he's thinking maybe he's going to take over and own someday. And so we've had to, and when we look at because as we mentor entrepreneurs as they're raising money, they'll come to us and say, "Hey, take a look at this deal that I'm doing with this investor group or hedge fund or investment banker or whatever." And there can be clauses in these agreements that you need a really good operating agreement. I mean, if you don't have the right kind of operating agreement, you actually, let's say you're the CEO of the company, you need an employment agreement, an operating agreement to spell a lot of things out because the last thing you want is to build it and then lose it. So yes, this is very important. And I would say as we raise capital, we have some really good lawyers that button up the deal to make sure that we're getting a fair deal for us, and we're not going to lose control of the company because sometimes investors will plant some little things in there that give them some big advantages. So just be careful if you're raising capital, and I would say this: never just sign an agreement that somebody sends you. Get some great legal advice. I have 2 full-time lawyers, and these guys are amazing at being able to detect things. It also, if somebody's putting something in there that is a little sneaky and suspicious, might give you a little bit of an idea about what this possible relationship might be like. It might not be a good idea to do this. So sometimes you just need to sit down and talk it through. But yeah, I think Max, definitely raising capital is good, but read not just the first couple pages of that 22-page agreement, read the next 20 pages because there might be some damaging things in there that you can't agree to.
I agree. I think, and you look at most people who invest, they've invested in other deals. Maybe you go, you talk to, hey, I know you did a deal with this guy, this lady a few years ago. What was that like? Are you still in business with them? Because you can talk to people, right? And if somebody's burning people and doing bad deals, they're probably going to have a line of people behind him that are like, this person screwed me over. This person's, a real shark in a bad way. And that information can be super valuable if you're thinking about raising money for your own business. So yeah, do due diligence, talk to
Yeah.
lawyers, get that advice. It's worth it, right? Might be expensive. I got to pay a lawyer, 5, 10K, but trust me, it's like you said, it's a lot cheaper than losing your company 2 years from now because you didn't read this clause and you signed it, right?
Exactly. I mean, good lawyers, they can, and see, this is the thing. like if you're talking to an investment banker and they know you're not sophisticated, you have a hard time. Let's say your lawyer gives you a bunch of tips and you're trying to relay them. They're knowing that you don't know what you're talking about.
Yep.
Okay. So I let my lawyers get in the act, and the first thing my lawyer is going to do is let them know, about their skill set and that, they're now dealing with somebody that's competent in this arena of raising capital. So let's kind of take the gloves off here and talk, amongst ourselves as if we're going to be on the same team here down the road. So there's no getting over on somebody on the front end here. So a good lawyer can navigate those kinds of discussions to where, you as the digital marketing guy, or me as the marketing person, may not be as skilled on all these financial terms, but I've got the right people that I can bring in that are, and we're not going to do a deal that doesn't make sense. So it's that, again, getting back to having the right dream team around yourself. This is important, and especially in raising capital. Last thing you want to do, have a huge success and lose the company.
Of course. So I know we got a hard stop. We got 3 minutes. I want to ask you one future question and give you time to promote anything you want, or just tell people where to learn more about you and get all your content and stuff. So last question is, you've been a innovator your entire career. You kind of saw things coming. You were your early adopter in a lot of trends, right? What are you excited about now? The deals you're looking at next 3 to 5 years. Any trend, any consumer product that really is exciting you, think is going to be big next few years, that's getting you bullish when you're investing?
Well, that's always a good question. So, I mean, at any one time, I've got dozens of investments, right?
Yep.
So, one of the things that I try to look at is where are things going? Kind of like grab the crystal ball and try to look out to the future, right? So, the United States has become very, very successful in many ways in my world. Infomercials, live shopping channels, QVCs, HSNs, digital marketings, Amazons, et cetera, right?
Yep.
Distribution. So now the United States is very competitive. I've been going to India now, and I've been making investments in deals in India, and not just deals, distribution deals, as well as product deals, because India is a land of 1.4 billion people, I believe the number is,
Yep.
and there's one of the largest middle classes in the world there. So there's plenty of capital, there's plenty of entrepreneurship, but it's nowhere near as sophisticated as we have here. So I like frontiers like that. I mean, 1989, I was in the United States. It was getting competitive. What did I say? Let's go to Europe. Let's go to the Middle East. Let's go to Latin America. Let's go to Asia. Here we are, 2020. What's happening? It's getting very competitive here. Where do we go? Hey, let's check out India. I was 3 weeks ago in Hong Kong, Taipei, Singapore. Unbelievable entrepreneurial activities happening in all those markets. I mean, Singapore is so huge
It's
with
massive.
the past passion of the entrepreneurs there. So I'm finding that connecting on a global basis, it's kind of been my strength for many years. I was, I was sitting there and I had to jump on an airplane and go see Sheikh Salah Camel in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Had never been there before, didn't know what to expect, but I went in, closed the deal, got $25 million check out of the Sheikh to build our business, and that's what I do. So I'm dealing with very high political levels in India, as well as all the TV networks and all the press and the Forbes and the Incs and the entrepreneur magazines over there, launching products, building businesses, and speaking around India now. So India, Dubai, Middle East, et cetera. It's great opportunities. And I just think the key thing is take your skill set and see where you can apply it on a global basis. And yes, it might be a little competitive here, but there's other parts of the world that you can still be doing some amazing things and getting in on the ground floor. So it's kind of one of my passions right now is connecting with some of these global entrepreneurial networks.
That's amazing advice. So I know you're out of time, but people that are listening to this, they always want to learn more from you, right? Where can they go? Do you have anything? You got any programs you're launching now? Any books? Anything that you want to share? We'll obviously drop the links. Anything you want in there, but just
Sure.
whatever you want to share.
I appreciate it, Max. Thanks. And I'm going to see you We have some things coming up together
Yep.
we're going to be doing, so looking forward to that. But bottom line is this. KevinHarrington.tv is my website, and we've got some free downloads and some free chapters and free books and reports and things like that there. So anybody that's interested in connecting with us, do that. If you happen to have somebody that reaches out to you and they say, "Hey Max, can you make a personal introduction to Kevin?" I'm always open for that, and treat any referral from you, Max, as a good one and one to focus on. So if they track you down or they come to my website, they're going to be able to connect with me on the internet, and then, hey, look, if it makes sense, I'm open to having a little one-on-one kind of situation. It's I go to events all around the world, and so maybe at one of our events coming up, we can hook up with some of the folks that are out there that are looking to connect. So, but first place, KevinHarrington.tv. We'll tell you one last thing. I've written 7 books so far, and have made some good progress and best-selling Amazon, this, that, whatever. But I've got a new book coming out. It's a big one. It's going to be out in September. I've already turned the manuscript in, and we're getting some really cool things coming back from the people that are seeing the early advances of this. And so maybe we got a huge bestseller coming up. I never like to guarantee anything, but I'm feeling good about a new book we got coming out just at the end of the summer. So just in time for back to school. So we'll connect again on that. But a new book is always a good thing to have. So thanks for having me today, and keep the good work up, man. I follow you on what you're doing on the internet, and I'm impressed with all the things you guys are doing. And congratulations on your success. And thanks for having me today.
Thanks, Kevin. It means a lot. We'll talk to you soon, and we'll see everyone next week on the Unicorn Perspective.
See you, buddy. Take care.